and welcome to the New World Review. I'm Grand Line Waifu, and we have all sorts of surprises for you today, including a special guest. Intrigued? Let's get into the episodes because I was intrigued. Episode 86. This episode was, on the whole, some comic relief after the depth of disaster that's been happening this arc. Since I'm watching 2 episodes per week, it felt a bit weird and I didn't know what to expect when I got what I got. Once I remembered that Kite is most certainly dead, definitely dead, right? He's not encased in a Sleeping Beauty tomb because he's going to be brought back to tragically have to fight Gon and Killua in a battle where his clown friend becomes more menacing and laughs evilly and tries to take them out with a good choice in weapon, right? Like he's going to be able to pull through and sacrifice himself again to protect the kids because that's what Kite would have done in life. He's a good guy. In fact, thinking about it, he's probably one of the best they've met, besides little Sushi Roll. So yeah, there's no need to worry about the darkness of Kite taking over and burning everything to the ground, or Netero being weak because he's old, or that he fully agrees with Killua about his, abilities against Python. Yes, I've changed their names. It's much easier if I have Python, because I know what a python is. It's a little stick that you hammer into a... Look, y'all. There is nothing to be afraid of. Don't be afraid. I know I'm not at all. Not even concerned, because a number of these characters have plot armor, so they can't even die. It's not possible. Kite was introduced for the purpose of sacrifice, so we always knew he would, but the others, Netero especially. Togashi seems to like Netero, so he couldn't kill him, right? I mean, beside his interest in Tatars, he's generally an okay guy who cares about the desires of our kids. And speaking of the kids, it's weird, but the framing of this episode suggests they're now subplot status. Their training and development as characters seem very secondary to the real story, which still feels like it's happening back at the anthill with Pyto. The new friend they've gained, Palm, I don't actually know what to think about this character. She's just weird. Good weird, bad weird, I don't know, just weird. I don't have any particular attachment or aversion to her either. I feel kind of neutral, which usually tells me that I don't have enough understanding of why she should or could be significant. At the moment, she's just a side character Togashi had in his head and decided to ram into this episode because he was bored, which is very Togashi-like, I suppose. The way we hang on to Palm's stalkery behavior just long enough to note she's weird but brush past anything that could actually be of import in what she's saying, such as that her desire to get to her teacher will lead her to ultimately kill them. Not important. Either that's what they're doing anyway, or they have no concern that they could defeat her, and so why does she exist? And while she's artistically interesting, her premise is a little worn to me. And, then again, she's also from the 90s, so maybe she's the reason it feels worn in 2020. Speaking of worn, let's extrapolate that a little, because there were a lot of things that felt fillery about this episode. The first was the amount of time they sat at a table eating, sandwiches. No, they're on a bed of salad. They're on a bed of salad. Sandwiches. They spent a disordinate amount of time discussing the situation while eating a sandwich salad, because look at the number of sandwich halves. That is a sandwich salad and a plate of really simple pasta. And while I think it's great that we know these kids are getting their carbs in, it was such a static scene that it was visually boring. And in fact, I'm sure they were talking about something useful, but I don't know what it was because I had to stop and look at the sandwich salad. So even if the information they were providing was supposed to be of narrative interest, I wasn't interested in it. And you know what it reminded me of? There are scenes in every Disney or Pixar, or Disney Pixar because they bought them, movie that is designed at about halfway through the movie where nothing at all happens. It's the kids' break, right? That's what it is. It's a kids' bathroom break. If I'd been watching one episode a week, I'd have been so, kind of disappointed with this episode. The only thing that really made me perk up in the first half was Palm saying, "Love is a spontaneous thing, don't you think?" And I loved that it was Killua. Killua, of course, wearing a new shirt, because of course he would, our little fashionista. And it was he who interrupted. I adore that he needs to take everyone's mind away from love, particularly unrequited love, before anyone else could see that he's also experiencing it. For Gon, the one beside him, who has no idea that he loves him. Oh, when will my husband return from war? It's that kind of vibe, Oh. Moving on. Knucklehead is the most absurd creature I've ever seen, and the idea that they need to take him seriously frustrates me more. And I'm not sure why exactly, but it has something to do with the way he issued his challenge. I understand that he could turn out to be super powerful, but I also feel as though they're past the point of dealing with people on that lack of professionality, right? Like, you tell people where you're gonna be, and then it's annoying. I'm sure that was supposed to be the charm of it, but that's not what I saw or experienced. And let's move on. Bisky's back. Bisky's back again. And we finally got to see her magical girl massaging clone Cookie. It was, in every sense of the word, a cookie day. I'm hoping we get back to the main story post-Biscuit and Cookie Day, because I'm hoping the next arc will be about a Gon who travels to the underworld to bring Kite back. And I would legitimately watch the hell out of that. Something I did notice about this episode was such a dramatic shift in both line art and ink tone that it felt as though some of the animators on it changed, or the technology used to animate the show changed mid-episode. Was there a hiatus mid-episode? Around halfway through, the lines got heavier as though they switched to full digital, but I'm fairly sure they'd have been digital way earlier, if not from the start, so I'm not sure what I'm seeing here. The art just looks significantly different, and I couldn't let that pass without a mention because it pulled me out of the story to look at the storytelling for a bit. With 2 months or so to the birth of the king, we finally get to our celebrity. Who's that celebrity? It's Shia LaBeouf! Yay! Shia LaBeouf, soon to be joined by Menthol. I have no idea what their names are supposed to be, but Menthol and Shia LaBeouf seem appropriate with the other bizarre things that happen in the story. He even looks a little like our good friend Shia in no way at all. Let's find out what they'll do in episode 87. Apparently in episode 87, we're doing our best to exterminate the ants one squadron at a time, or at least that's what the pros are trying to do. Meanwhile, Gon and Killua are doing whatever they must to save Kite. So here's the thing, we're really drumming the idea that Gon is doing all this to save Kite right home with a sledgehammer. It's really drumming it home, like really, Togashi wants to make sure we know that's the reason Gon's doing all this. I mean, I imagine it might, I'm not sure, but it might be super important that he believe he can save someone who we know was beheaded and is now locked in a crystal cage. Because of how hard they're pushing the inevitable outcome of that experience for Gon, it means the tension's being sapped out of it. And instead, a lot of the tension we're getting from episodes at the moment is from knowing that the queen is growing a now moving king on the outside of her body. So she's managed to lay the king egg. And if we zoom in on that, oh, yep. Looks like he's gonna be born with the hat, and that's not concerning in any way. I can't even imagine giving birth to a fully clothed baby, but you know what? It would save a lot of money to do so. 250 human meatballs, and you know the idea that pregnant people need to eat for two is incorrect. It can actually be quite unhealthy for both parent and baby if it's not a healthy diet. So maybe she should slow down, especially with the human, because it tends to be such a rich meat. I hope she has a good midwife and a solid medical plan, because since this thing started, she's eaten a whole lot of exotic creatures, and I have concerns. Bisky, as usual, is reading sexy romantic magazines, while Gon and Killua learn to keep their Ren going for 3 hours. This episode and the whole Knucklehead situation felt immediately more like the filler that we got before, and you know what? I get it. I do get it. The show can't be dark for too long, or people disconnect because of the oversaturation of traumatizing information. You need to break it up with wholesomeness in order to truly feel, the impact of the awful things to come, and that explains the absurdly cute doe-eyed dog that follows Knuckle around, though because of the darkness that we've had so far, I really kind of expected, I don't know, for Knuckle to just like kick it, or for it to like fall off a cliff or something. I really kind of expected that. I did not think that dog would be surviving. And I still don't know what to make of him. Knucklehead, not the dog. I love the dog. Dogs are great. Dog. I don't find Knuckle lovable enough to get over the idiocy that Killua notes, and I think that's because I personally have low tolerance for things that don't bear relevance to the situation as I'm seeing it. And I'm still not convinced that either Palm or Knuckle, both parts of the hand, I notice. I'm still not convinced they're anywhere near the ability level of the boys, despite what's been shown, and I feel that's either a basic storytelling flaw or we're going to experience the old switcheroo. The story of the power comparison has been told in the way Gon and Killua react to them, and in the way Bisky reacts to the whole situation. Their reactions suggest just how concerned I should be, and it's pretty clear the answer right now is that I shouldn't be, so I'm not, resulting in dropped tension despite knowing the idea is to train up to be able to take on one of the royal guards. Perhaps it's simply that I don't see any of the current human creatures as powerful enough to deal with them, and so the entire training process just kind of feels not pointless, but maybe lesser? I'm not sure. Knuckles' assumptions about why people would want to find and fight him, the assumptions he makes about their presence at all, and the way all of that comes out in his internal thoughts describes a serious amount of anxiety and insecurity about how powerful he actually is. Since Gon is too steamy-brained to really consider how powerful he is before he tries to fight someone, and Killua carefully considers situations before he acts, there are a number of things they do that suggest they think he's strong. But again, we don't have that information, so I feel I'm left in a sort of limbo. What is important is that the other assassin they have to take out is likely going to be more powerful than Knuckle, and that's fine, but we're not there yet, and because I'm desperate to know what happens next in the main arc, this feels like a lesser distraction. That said, what I did expect was for them to have the same outcome as when they first trained with Bisky and caught a serial killer. That they would simply torture him until both of them could comfortably take him on. That they're at the beginning of the process and both need to fight him together suggests he is definitely more powerful, so yeah, I don't know what's going on with my perception. Speaking of more powerful, we still haven't seen Netero fight in earnest, and I want that. I want to see what he does and how he tries to bring down these ants that he's fighting one-on-one at the moment. I'm really interested in this virtual space and the way the punitive crew are breaking the fight down to make it manageable. The problem is that we know how many ants there are and that the more powerful ones are going to have Nen, so I'm ready for that. The Royal Guard are already showing how they live outside of the structure that exists. I get the sense they don't care about the Queen, and on a certain level I wonder what they actually think of the king they're going to be protecting, because Python's already undertaking their own experiments. I'm really enjoying the development of those I now consider the main protagonists of the story, and it happens so steadily, that change from, antagonist to protagonist, that I kind of don't care that my perspective has changed so drastically. I really don't know how they've managed to build a lab or how Pito got hold of the materials to genetically modify a kite, but I guess Kite won't need to worry about being powerful. Is Pito rebuilding him to fight again, or to unleash him against others? Porque no los dos, I guess. There are a lot of traps being set up and sprung, and I guess we're going to get to meet the grumpy shadowed edgelord next episode? There's only one way to find out, but it's not right now, because that's it from me. If you enjoyed the things that you've heard and the things that I've said, and the click here, because why not? It'll be fun. Join us on the Discord and have fun with stuff and have a great week and eat stuff and drink lots of water, and I'll see you next time.